Excited to welcome Chris Parks, much better known to many of you as Abyss, to the show for the first time. You will be able to play as Abyss starting Wednesday, June 25th, as he is one of 5 featured additions to WWE 2K25 as part of the Dunk and Destruction Pack, alongside the great Khali, Shaquille O'Neal, Tyrese Halliburton, and my favorite NBA player, as all of you know listening, Jalen Brunson. Chris, great to have you here. This has to be a real unique situation for you, becoming a playable character for the first time in a WWE video game. And my understanding as well is that Janice is available as a weapon. What has this been like, seeing yourself in the game? And was there any conversation about which version of Abyss would be in the game? Because it kind of looks like this one's molded a little bit more after you from the early 2010s.
Yeah. First of all, it's a dream come true for to be direct about it. It's a dream come true to be in the video game. I never thought it would materialize. I never thought it was an option. Back when I was at TNA, the TNA and WWE working together was never on the table, never an option. So, this being included in the video game, and when I was approached about it last year, I had to pinch myself. I couldn't believe it was a reality. And to see it come to life, and to see the initial, stuff that's been released with the entrance and the music and Janice, and, it brings me down a great memory lane. It's an honor that WWE wanted to include me in it. I can't emphasize enough what an honor it is to be in that game, and WWE to want me in it.
No, that's great. And you mentioned, WWE and TNA, especially back then, would not even think about working together. The fact that that's happening now as like the TNA stalwart, like you were from the beginning, you worked there during highs and lows and really everything in between. How wild is that for you to be witnessing? Especially, I mean, it's primarily what's happening with NXT right now, but seeing that on a consistent basis, Trick Williams being the TNA champion, a WWE superstar as the TNA champion. How does a TNA veteran kind of look at this partnership and these developments?
I just think it's groundbreaking. I think it's incredible. Like I said, it was never an option when I was there. It was never on the table for whatever reason. To see WWE and TNA collaborate together, it's thrilling. It's something that I'm extremely proud of. I think it's WWE reaching out to want to work with other companies, I think is just massive. And I think the number one benefactor of all that is the fans, the audience. They get to see the collaboration, the crossover. Like you mentioned Trick Williams, and Joe Hendry and just those things. And now me in the video game. And it's just, it's a incredibly, I think it's, groundbreaking, I think that both companies working together, like I said, the number one thing, the fans really benefit the most from it, all around.
Yeah, for sure. Now, being in this game kind of creates the opportunity for fans to finally live out a couple dream matches. Abyss versus Mankind. Obviously, you fought Mick Foley in TNA, but the Mankind character specifically has been a dream for some. Certainly the Undertaker. I believe you once said that WWE made you an offer to sign and fight him. I think it was WrestleMania 23. I'd love to hear whether your perspective on turning that down changed over time. And I always wondered as well, whether WWE ever reached back out to you after the fact with any other offers or opportunities, or if it was kind of like a one-shot deal, sign now, do this match, this is your chance to come in, or was that just one of a couple times that maybe you guys had conversations?
There were a couple times that we had conversations, and they always went really well. My thing at the time, I was with TNA since the beginning. I was there from the start, and that made it, for me personally, extremely hard to part and to leave. I felt like I was, one of the cornerstones of the company, along with AJ Styles, and the Samoa Joes and Jeff Jarrett, obviously, and Sting and Kurt Angle. And so I felt, an extreme sense of loyalty. I felt, I just had no interest. I was all about TNA at that time, and we did have a couple of conversations, over the years and so forth. And I think it's just a poetic story that, when my career ended, I was presented the opportunity to go there and become a producer for the biggest and the best wrestling company in the world. And that blew me away. That touched my heart and just really smacked me in the face of the opportunity of, I have an opportunity now to continue my career out of the ring as a producer and help younger talent and help the roster there achieve their goals and the company's goals. And, so it's been a full circle kind of thing. I never saw that this opportunity might arise. And when it did, it was extremely humbling and extremely exciting, and I love being there. Every day is a different adventure there. I said this in an earlier interview, but every day is a different adventure and a different challenge, and it's just so exciting. And everybody there from top to bottom, roster, staff, crew, the level of passion that there is contagious, and it's exciting to be a part of it.
What ultimately led to you making that decision to join WWE as the producer? Did someone kind of build a bridge toward making it happen? Was it something you actively pursued? How did that come about?
The opportunity was presented to me kind of out of the blue. I was still wrestling. I was definitely on the back nine, as they say.
Sure.
My career was definitely winding down. I was much more towards the end than towards the beginning. So when the opportunity presented itself, I had a decision to make. Am I ready to step away from active competitive, competition in the ring, to be behind the scenes producing? And for me, it was an easy decision at that point in time. I have no regrets. I had an incredible career, incredible bucket list. I'll never be one of those, grizzled veterans that's unhappy with the way the business unfolded. For me, it gave me everything. I had an opportunity to work with, a bucket list. I could sit here for an hour and rattle off the names of guys that I was able to work with. That was a dream come true, and go out there and create magic together. So, when the opportunity came, it was a pretty easy decision for me, and it was life-changing in the fact that I wasn't going to compete in the ring anymore, but now I'm competing behind the scenes, and helping the younger talent and just the whole roster in general, achieve their goals, achieve the company's goals. And that's just as rewarding to me as any match I ever had.
There always seems to be a bit of a misconception from fans about what producers actually do, for WWE and really all wrestling companies. Has there been any part of that transition for you that has been particularly difficult, or something that you figured, well, I'm a veteran, I've been doing this for so many years, I'm going to walk right into this and know exactly what I'm doing? And I've certainly worked with other producers and agents in the past, so I know the job. But now that you've been in this role for about 6 years or so, is there anything surprising about it?
Nothing really surprising about it, but it's not an easy job. It's challenging in a good way, in a great way. No 2 days are the same. Every day is a different challenge, and when I walked in there, I thought I was pretty smart, and I was, but nowhere near as smart as what's unfolded over the last 7 years. I've learned so much in the last 7 years from WWE, from being around minds like Michael Hayes, from being around obviously Triple H and Bruce Pritchard and Ed Koskey, Ryan Ward, Brian James, those guys, they're brilliant people, and you can't help but learn from them. And the best advice I could give myself was just be a sponge, getting this education from these, these great minds, and and then taking that and adding that on to my experiences that I had over my 19-year career,
Mm-hmm.
The do's and the don'ts. I know a lot of the don'ts just as much as I know a lot of the do's. So I know the mistakes and the pitfalls as well as the successes and the great things. Taking that and incorporating it with what I'm able to learn from the minds of the people I just listed to you, it's created a perfect storm. I feel like I've grown so much in the last 7 years, and just learned more and more and more about the business that I didn't know. And now I'm exposed to that, and I'm able to incorporate that into when I do work with talent, taking my experiences from my career along with what I'm learning every day there. It creates a perfect storm.
It's interesting because a lot of times when people think about Abyss, they think about the crazy spots and the wild stuff that you did that I know physically you're definitely paying for still today. But I always looked at you as an incredible talker, a great kind of character actor as well. So in this role, do you feel like you have a greater impact in terms of the in-ring or more of the characters and the promos and that aspect of the business?
I would say a little bit of both, but probably more leaning on the in-ring.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. The writers work a lot on, verbiage and character development. And I work more on, as a producer, the character development in the ring, what you actually see in the ring. So, right. Taking creatives' goals and the company's goals of what they want to see out of this match, whoever it is, I'm the liaison between that. So I take it to the talent, collaborate with them. We sit, we get in the ring, we talk about it, we craft it, sculpt it.
Sure.
That is fun. The game planning is my favorite part. And then seeing it come to life and seeing it be successful is, that's the home run. That's the grand slam home run, when that happens. So, me working directly with the talent, more so on the match side of things and the action side of things is what I do. And like I said, it's an incredible challenge. It's never the same thing. And it's always a lot of fun, and it's always a great learning experience.
Is there a particular match or set of matches, feud, whatever the case might be, that you're particularly proud of from these past, 7 years?
There's a ton.
I know it's every week. I know, yeah.
It's every week, and I'm lucky. The talent at WWE, I can't emphasize it enough. Just how all the men and women there, just incredibly passionate, incredibly smart, brilliant, attention to detail. They care. They want the best product, the best possible product for themselves and for the company. And when you're in that setting and everybody's rowing in the same direction, accompanied with the minds that I just mentioned off to you a little bit ago, that process is amazing. A couple of things that pop off to me right away, the Drew McIntyre CM Punk Hell in the Cell back in October. I just thought it was a masterpiece. Those guys absolutely went out there and just left everything in the ring. And I was extremely proud of them and proud of that moment. But there's, I've forgotten more. Things move fast. I've forgotten more than I would like to forget because it just moves so fast. But there's just every experience, whether it's with a Drew McIntyre, a Sheamus, a Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, Damian Priest, and I could go on and on and on. CM Punk, and just the talent that I had the opportunity to work with and to collaborate with and learn from those people as well. I learn from the talent every day. It's just it's an incredible atmosphere, an incredible job, incredible learning experience.
I was hoping you'd mention the Drew and Punk match because that was legitimately special. That's one of those that
it really was.
You don't soon forget. You see it and it ends, and you say, "That's a match I'll watch 10 times." You know what I mean? Like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was extremely happy and proud for those two. They poured everything, their heart and soul into that.
Yeah.
and the preparations leading up to it. You know, the two consummate pros, and when you have that, that's the end result. That's the product that you end up getting.
Yeah, couple more. I'll get you out of here. You basically made your WWE debut during the pandemic as AJ Styles statistician, which was such a fun development for a lot of TNA fans who watch you guys feud and obviously team back in the day. It only lasted like 3 weeks. Did you think it had longer legs than that, given the fan reception, or was it always supposed to be like an in and out type of character?
I think it was in and out. You mentioned that was the heart of the pandemic,
Right.
and there were, that was obviously a crazy time in the world, and we were shooting everything out of Orlando, and then Tampa and St. Pete out of Florida. And there it was just, there was travel restrictions, and people unable to make the shows for whatever reason, and that opportunity came about out of nowhere. It was just kind of a spur of the moment thing. And I'd never really thought it had a ton of legs to it. I was just kind of happy that it was happening, and along for the ride to see where it went and how long it went. And I was very happy with it. It was a great nostalgic moment to see me and AJ on screen on a WWE program together again. I thought was a really cool thing.
It was indeed. So look, given the Royal Rumble is the one event where someone can come in and appear as a surprise without any explanation or really that much time in the ring, was there ever a consideration for you taking one of those spots the last handful of years? Is there any consideration where that might happen, or are you just done and done?
I'm done. I'm retired, and like I said, I couldn't be happier, man. I have the greatest job in the world. A producer for WWE, helping talent, producing matches, watching them go out there, no matter who the talent is, and bring the story to life, in front of millions of people. That is the most rewarding thing to me in the world. So physically, in the ring, I'm done. And I'm happy. I couldn't be happier. Like I said, this job, I get as much intrinsic reward from it than I did when I wrestled in the ring. I really truly feel that way. So I'm very fortunate to be where I'm at.
That's great. Well, look, if you want to see Abyss in the ring again, what you need to do is get the Dunk and Destruction pack. He's
Absolutely.
there.
Available tomorrow.
Available tomorrow alongside the great Khali, Shaquille O'Neal, Tyrese Halliburton, and like I said, Jalen Brunson, all part of WWE 2K25, available Wednesday, June 25th. Chris, really appreciate the time. Great to meet you for the first time, and keep up the great work with WWE.
Adam, it was real nice to meet you too. Thank you, sir.
You got it.